Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm introducing to you one of the coziest space in my house. I know that's a bit dark, but I want to record a video here just because I think it will be nice and it's a bit different from my plant room. That's not his room, it's just a part of the same living room anyway. So I just painted the wall, and I really want to show in this video because everything that's behind me is something that some of my friends have painted or some other artists from Latin America, and that's the reason why I super enjoy my wall. Without further ado, let's start the video, and the video today is about Dendrobium. So my question is, if you're a beginner, is Dendrobium the right orchid for you? So in this video, I will show you and I will compare some Dendrobiums to other popular orchids such as Phalaenopsis and Oncidiums, and I will actually tell you the difference and what's the advantage of a Dendrobium, and maybe if you should acquire any other orchid that's not a Dendrobium. So if that's the type of content you're looking for, let's start this video. So Dendrobiums are one of the largest orchid genera out there. They have like around 1,500,000 of different species. So for this reason, they are wild, known, and that there are Dendrobiums that are very cheap as well, and you can find locally. There are two types of Dendrobiums. There are the ones that we find easier around. One of them is the Phalaenopsis, that's the Phalaenopsis type of Dendrobiums, and the nobly one. What's the difference? The Phalaenopsis, that's the Phalaenopsis one. They have long-lasting flowers, they have tall canes, they bloom multiple times a year, and that they need super bright light to keep growing. They are super resilient plants. The nobles, on the other hand, will push out a cluster of flowers. They are super perfumey, and they will bloom every time when the temperature drops. That's when they will push out their flower spike. So here, that's the biggest difference. I think the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis, they are more adapted to indoor conditions, while the nobles, they need this cool down in temperature. That could be very fun for beginners, specifically to see how a temperature plays a role on how these plants will bloom. Now, let's compare them with other orchids and see the difference. Phalaenopsis is one of these kind of beginner-friendly orchids that are out there. They are super affordable. You can find them everywhere. And the advantage is that we can grow them indoors. They like to be grown intermediate to warm temperature. They are super adaptable when it comes to temperature. Not only that, but also they adapt to light as well. If you have an indirect sunlight window, they will do super well. They are kind of low maintenance type of orchids. If you just want to have something super simple to look after, I think Phalaenopsis will do the trick. When we talk about Dendrobiums, specifically Dendrobium nobilis, like Phalaenopsis, it's very easy to find them locally. We can see them almost everywhere. Here in the UK, I find them in supermarkets very, very often. They will have different flowers. They are quite perfumey. All of them will be fragrant as well. And they will produce a super tall plant. But here, where it comes and becomes a bit trickier, is the fact that the Dendrobium nobile will need a proper cool down in temperature to be able to bloom. So if you don't have an outdoor space, you don't have a room where you can leave the window open when it's winter, will get really, really cold, you probably not be able to rebloom these orchids. For this reason, they are a bit trickier than Phalaenopsis, so you need to think specifically about the type of orchid that you are willing to have, and if you have the right conditions for your Dendrobium nobile. The other Dendrobium, that's the Phalaenopsis, you can see them in garden centers, but I don't see them as often as the nobilis. They are low maintenance as well, but again, they need the right light to be able to bloom and rebloom. So instead of just offering some filtered light window, you would need to have a brighter place where you have a super bright light so they would be able to keep growing and actually pushing out flower spikes as well. Now let's compare Dendrobiums to Oncidiums, another beginner-friendly. Actually, it's not only because they are beginner-friendly, but they are wild available for us, specifically if you talk not only about Oncidiums, but if you're talking about intergenerics. It's very easy to find them locally. So for this reason, I'm covering these plants here. But when you talk about Oncidiums, you have dancing ladies type of blooms. They are super cute. They are super perfumey as well. We have Oncidiums that will be fragrant, and that fragrance will resemble chocolate, vanilla, a honey. So they will push out a long spike full of tiny flowers that are super cute to look at. They have pseudobulbs that can store water, but they are a bit more finicky when it comes to watering and humidity. They actually don't like to be dry for a long period of time. They get stressed, so you need to make sure that the potting mix is usually evenly moist. They enjoy to be moist most of the time. It helps them to grow and keep pushing out a growth after another growth. And on top of that, they are massive root producers, so repotting them can be very, very tricky. When you're talking about Dendrobiums, there are many different varieties of Dendrobiums out there, but not only they will enjoy the bright light, like Oncidiums will also enjoy the bright light. The advantage is that these beauties here, they are a little bit more adaptable to watering, so they don't need to be evenly moist all the time. They can dry out between watering, and they will be more resilient to dry environments. So if you live in a place that is very hot and dry, usually Dendrobium Phalaenopsis will be a much better choice and much easier for you than Oncidiums. If you live in a place with intermediate temperature, like I do, Oncidiums are perfect, are great, and also if you have a cool down in temperature and space to keep your nobiles, they will also work well as well. Something else is that Dendrobiums will have bold flowers, I would say, like larger flowers, while Oncidiums will have more like tiny flowers, cascading bunch of flowers together. Both are unique, both are beautiful, depends on what you like and what you don't like. So now, who should have a Dendrobium? In my opinion, everybody that wants to grow a Dendrobium and have the right time to do a bit of research, understand the plants, and enjoy their blooms and their growth structure. You have to remember that most of the Dendrobiums that I'm covering here, the most common Dendrobiums, they will push out super tall canes, and they will have specific structures. And for this reason, you need to have the space and consider that before you buy a Dendrobium. Also, some Dendrobiums will push out a ton of cakes, so you're going to have baby Dendrobiums growing all over the place. You also have to consider that. More than that, what else you should consider before you get a Dendrobium? You need to have a bright window. Not only the Phalaenopsis, but also the Nobile, they need bright light while they are pushing out roots, new canes, new leaves. So you need to have a bright space or growing lights. That's the first thing that you should consider. Something else is, for some Dendrobiums, like Dendrobium nobilis, you have to consider the fact that they are seasonal plants. There are some changes that you experience while growing them, so keep that in mind as well. You need the cool down temperature and cool down space, and you have to also adjust the watering around the year. So if that's something that you're willing to do, these plants for you. So in the end, as I mentioned, I think Dendrobiums are lovely orchids for us to grow. There are so many different hybrids out there with so many different colors of flowers that you can actually admire and enjoy. I don't have many nobiles because of space, so that's one thing that I have to consider is space. But if you do have space for them, I think it's a great option, a great alternative for us to have not only beautiful Phalaenopsis and Oncidiums, but also some Dendrobiums. Let me know if you think Dendrobium is an orchid for you, or if you think that you prefer other type of orchids, if they are so difficult. As I said, if your temperature is equally warm all over the year, you can choose a Phalaenopsis, Dendrobium Phalaenopsis. If you have a cool down temperature, nobilis would be a great option for you as well. But yeah, as I said, they do push out beautiful blooms with super strong fragrance. That's something that I forgot to mention. If you have fragrance sensitivity, maybe the Phalaenopsis is the best one for you, the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis. Normally, fragrance is not my type of fragrance, but they are not close to me, so that's all good. But the flowers are breathtaking. They are gorgeous. They are amazing. Let me know if you have Dendrobiums down below. If you want to have Dendrobiums. And if you enjoy this type of content, please hit the like button, leave a comment down below. And I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.